Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Let's just get into it right away. Donald Trump was on Air Force One. He was asked about the firing by ABC of Jimmy Kimmel. You had a lot of MAGA Republicans trying to pretend like it wasn't because Donald Trump and his FCC demanded that ABC and then its other kind of carriage companies like Sinclair and Nexstar do it if they want to have mergers and if they want to be able to get their licenses. Well, then Donald Trump just blew up any chance of the cover up that Republicans were trying to do. And Trump's like, yeah, why are these late night people not conservative? I don't like it. They shouldn't be able to make fun of me. It's illegal. You can't do jokes about me. He said in Air Force One. Here, let's play it.
Look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and you take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you, everybody.
Right, as if Newsmax and OAN and Fox News isn't an arm of the MAGA party. I mean, Ben, we can't just walk past this. It's, I was just doing my Substack with Malcolm Nance, and one of the things I turned around, I said, just because they do that to Jimmy Kimmel doesn't mean that we have to allow it. The power is in our hands. As the consumer, we do not have to pay for these people to play. Meaning ABC, Disney, don't see their shit movies. Don't go to Disneyland. Don't buy princess costumes. Buy something from somebody else. Don't support them. Let them know. By the way, Malcolm brought up that you'll remember that the entire Black community, after some stuff took place at Target, they went ahead and they boycotted Target. Target is going to be declaring bankruptcy before the end of the year. We don't have to play their games. We don't have to watch, for example, ABC. We don't have to watch ESPN. We don't have to subscribe to Hulu. We don't have to turn around when you're watching CNN and you're listening to what Scott Jennings fighting with the next one during an Abby Phillips, commentary, and then on MSNBC we're listening to Geraldo Rivera trying to explain why this is all fine and dandy, but he doesn't like, he does like, he doesn't like, he does like. I mean, this is enough already. You don't have to watch MSNBC. You don't have to watch Fox. You don't have to watch CNN. Watch Midas Touch Network. There's more than enough content here to fill anyone's day. And that way, you don't have to worry about supporting somebody that doesn't care about the First Amendment.
If you actually look at what Jimmy Kimmel said, I just want to again read it for our brigaders so you can hear the words directly. I'm not going to play it because copyright issues, but I'm going to say it. Jimmy Kimmel on Monday said, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." And then he says, "I'm going to show you this tape about how Donald Trump responded." He plays the tape and it's Donald Trump being asked, "Well, what do you think about Charlie Kirk? How are you mourning Charlie Kirk's death?" And then Donald Trump says, "Do you see the ballroom over there? Do you see what a beautiful ballroom it is?" We've showed that clip before. And then Jimmy Kimmel says, "This is not how an adult grieves the murder of somebody he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish." Okay? What Jimmy Kimmel said there, that was it. There's nothing else. And I was thinking to myself, did I miss something in that was offensive, that I didn't see? Where was this right-wing outrage coming from? Because it's true. By the way, Jimmy Kimmel didn't go back and say, look, Charlie Kirk was anti-black, anti-Martin Luther King, anti-trans, anti-gay. Charlie Kirk said that Biden should be executed by the electric chair. He said that the civil rights movement was an error and a mistake and should never have taken place. Like, he didn't go and show
Said that
those.
women belong in the kitchen. He said that they're only really good for taking care of their man. That if you're age 30, you've basically aged out of the dating, that, you really don't have a purpose in life anymore. Yes, these are offensive comments. And the First Amendment of the Constitution grants idiots the right to say stupid shit. What Jimmy Kimmel did, I don't know. Look, I'm not here to protect Jimmy Kimmel. He could do that on his own. I'm certainly not here to protect ABC Disney. They could try to figure that out on their own too. I'm here representing America, America's values, our First Amendment constitutional right, and as someone who was the first political prisoner ever held by this country, someone whose First Amendment constitutional rights were trampled on simply because they didn't want me to publish my book. Yeah, I know a thing or two about this, and I'm furious about it. And I'm furious that ABC yet again, and by the way, Ben, thank you and Midas Touch for again putting up my article. It's phenomenal. I am sick and tired of ABC Disney capitulating, and they went ahead and they did it, not for the first time, but they have now done it for a second time.
Second time in a big way. They probably have done it every single day since the election in ways that we don't even fully appreciate and understand, right, with the programming decisions that they make. And also, remember, this follows that clip that we showed a few days back where Donald Trump looked at John Karl, one of the news correspondents for ABC, who said, what does it mean when your attorney general says that you will be going after hate speech? What does that mean? Because even speech that you don't like is pretty much always protected by the First Amendment. And then Donald Trump says, I'm going to be going after people like you. ABC already settled with me. I'm going to go after people like you, referring to John Karl. And the first ABC settlement that was with Trump, again, was over what I thought was one of the most ridiculous lawsuits imaginable. Donald Trump sued George Stephanopoulos and ABC because George Stephanopoulos referred to the civil verdict against Donald Trump for sexual assault using the R word instead of sexual assault. And Donald Trump's essential claim was, you're hurting my reputation by calling what I was found liable of the R word when you should have called it sexual assault. In essence, Trump's claim was, I sexually assaulted with my finger. I sexually assaulted a woman with my finger. It was digitally as opposed to genitals. And how dare you say genitals, because the technical definition of New York drew a distinction between genitals and fingers. Could you imagine what that deposition of Donald Trump would have looked like on that issue? Could you imagine what that trial would have looked like if ABC and Disney just stood up First Amendment rights to report that? What that would, Donald Trump's lawyer would have went up there and said, ladies and gentlemen, yes, indeed, it was his finger, but it was not his penis, everybody. I mean, that would have been the trial. How could that thing even get to a trial? And why the hell would ABC settle? Because, Cohen, when you show weakness in a situation like that, when you capitulate like that, whether you're ABC, whether you're the law firm, whether you're the universities like Columbia, what does he do? You can't make a deal with him. He just comes back for you again and again and again. That's the thing with extorters. They got you, then they do it again. And they do it again until they run you out of all of their money because they know that you're the mark. But here, what ABC does has a chilling effect across all companies, across all media, across all people's ability to speak as they should. And you go back to Kimmel's remark right there. The hell did he say that was even offensive? And then you have MAGA almost, they don't even want you to focus on what Kimmel said. They'll be like, Kimmel was attacking Charlie Kirk. He didn't attack Charlie Kirk. By the way, if he wanted to be critical of Charlie Kirk, he could have.
By the way,
he had a First Amendment right to do that.
What we expect from these late night shows. This is what they become, as if they didn't attack Joe Biden, as if they didn't attack Kamala Harris, if they didn't make fun of everyone. Next is going to be, of course, Saturday Night Live. He doesn't like to be made fun of, to be poked at and so on. But I'm telling each and every one of you, mark my words, as I have been so right in predicting so many things so far. I turned around and I said that I was the litmus test. I said that I was the first, but I will not be the last unless we put a stop to this. Okay, he won. He won by a plurality. He won every single swing state. Okay, we got what we got. But here's the crazy thing. He also has turned around and he said he's not done yet. These are his words. He's not done yet. Who's next on the list? Tish James, Alvin Bragg, James Comey. You're going to have Jack Smith, Fani Willis. He's going after Pencil Neck Adam Schiff. He's going after them all. And remember something. Doesn't make a difference who you are. You could be a member of Congress. You could be a journalist. You could be a television personality. You could be, a prosecutor, a judge. You could be a civilian. You are never as strong as the government. All right. They have unlimited resources. They have unlimited time. They have unlimited money. And they control the game, especially this group. Every single one of these people who I just mentioned are going to feel the full force of this White House administration, and I hate to parrot Trump, like you've never seen before. He's going to go after each and every one of them, and they will find shit on anyone. You could, the expression, Ben, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, look, they've already found stuff, for example, on Tish James. They've already found stuff on Adam Schiff. They're going to go after it all. They have access to all of your information via IRS. They have the DOJ. They have the FBI. They have the entire game set. As if this was tennis. This is point, set, match. Plain and simple. And this is where we have to be careful. This is where we have to be nervous. This is where we have to be a community and stay loud, stay angry, stay aggressive. Because the second that you turn and you say, oh boy, this is really tough. This is bad stuff. And trust me, this stuff is eating me alive. The second that you become apathetic to this, they win, we lose. And once we lose, you never get it back.
And these right-wing extremists, they use as the sword and the shield in their plan to chill speech, the mantra of the thing that they actually want to abolish, right? They were the free speech absolutists. Remember when they said that they're free speech absolutists and that they'll always protect free speech, right? Even like when Elon Musk would come on the platform, I am for free speech, until he would get made fun of and mocked. And then those were the accounts that got canceled. It's the same thing with this right-wing mindset. What Trump would do is cancel the speech that he didn't like, right? They come and say that they are states' rights champions. And that's what we really care about. Don't tread on me, federal government. Oh my gosh, the Obama administration and Biden, they're going to send troops into the cities. We can never allow that. Don't tread on me, which Obama and Biden were never doing, never contemplating doing. It's literally what the Trump regime does. Everything they've pretended to either be for or against, really all they've cared about is they want their Kim Jong-un. They want their little dictator in there who makes their lives and their Mar-a-Lago Club Rose Garden Country Club protected. That's all they want. They don't care about the country. They don't care about others. They don't care about the long-term viability of America. They don't care about our alliances. They care about themselves. I mean, look at what Stephen Miller, where I could show you thousands of quotes like this from people like Miller and others. But this is from April 15, 2022. If the idea of free speech enrages you, the cornerstone of democratic self-government, then I regret to inform you that you are a fascist. Y'all are literally canceling late night comedians, not like rhetorically canceling them or calling for a boycott, or like literally using the force of the government to take them off the air, preventing mergers from taking place in order to ensure compliance. Like, Do you
Ben,
remember?
did you see the video of Carr, the FCC chair,
Mhm.
and the comments that came out of his mouth? Before you even showed the Donald Trump on Air Force One comment where he acknowledges, yeah, fuck Jimmy Kimmel. He deserved to be taken off. He pokes fun at me. He shouldn't be allowed to. That's not what they're supposed to be doing. It's not right. If they're an arm of the Democratic Party. No, no. What we should have shown even first is how his FCC chair turned around and made comments that actually led up to what Trump just said, because he acknowledges that you do not have a right to say whatever you want when you are receiving a license from the government that is special, it's unique, it's not granted to everybody, of course, right? There's only X number of those licenses, and that you should have a responsibility to that license. So I would say to you, Secretary Carr, I would say to you, or Director Carr, however you go by, well, what about Fox News? What about Newsmax? They have a station. What about OAN? They have one. Explain to me why the comments that they're making is not 100 times worse than the comment. Now, look, I will say maybe it was too soon for Jimmy Kimmel to say what he did. Maybe it wasn't kind. It was maybe harsh. Sure. Using humor, absolutely. But at the end of the day, listen to some of the shit that's being spewed when you have Brian Kilmeade turning around and saying that they should take homeless people because homelessness is a real problem, right? It's a real problem. And it's such a big problem that they should involuntarily euthanize them. I mean, imagine what you're saying how about many of these homeless are veterans, people who've come back with all forms of scars, physical, emotional, and you think that a smart thing to say is that maybe the way that we deal with this problem of homelessness is to involuntarily euthanize them? Seriously? And then you have the other idiots there sitting there and talking about how, we need to just get them off the streets. We need to lock them away. Or the same thing with migrants. We are out of control. As a country, we are out of control. And if we don't put an end to all of this stupidity once and for all, mark my words, after that 2026 midterm election, if it doesn't go the right way, the America that you think you know, say goodbye.
Here's what Brendan Carr would say the distinction is between Fox and OAN and ABC, because I've heard him make the argument, but I'll push back at the argument. He'll say they don't require federal government licenses, so they don't have to make their programming, and here's the language that he uses, in the public interest. And whereas ABC, NBC, CBS required government licenses based on kind of an old archaic view of spectra and the government providing access basically to air rights to the local affiliates to have the kind of physical components wired in communities. And when the government does these auctions and the government grants the utilities that it can then regulate, and the Communications Act, I think, of 1934 is based on the premise. This idea, though, that he's defining public interest to mean you can't say things that are against the regime, that is not in the public. You can't make jokes about the regime that violates public interest. That is a deeply disconcerting concept, and in my view, a very un-American concept, because the FCC is supposed to be an independent agency that is, even though you're appointed by by presidents, the panel of the ABC, the commissioners of the ABC, they're not supposed to be rooting for this president or that president. They're supposed to be independent and impartial and not shaking down even areas where they can regulate. So I'll give that as to anticipate what the argument back would be. That doesn't mean, though, that they won't find or try to find regulatory hooks in the future once they fully regulate a specific area. Okay, I want to show you this, though. Here's what Elon Musk said when he was campaigning for Trump, and this was Elon Musk's perspective on First Amendment. Let's play it.
And have like a sense of humor, So, I mean, the sort of the left wanted to make comedy illegal, Like, you can't make fun of anything. So then it was like, comedy sucks. It's like, nothing's funny. You can't make fun of anything. It's like, legalize comedy. Yeah. Legalize comedy.
And we've shifted the entire culture. And
now let me show you what Trump said. Let's play the clip.
And I banned all government censorship and restored free speech in America. We have free speech. We didn't have free speech.
I just want to let you know, you did not have free speech. And you know something? Shame on you. Seriously. Because I know that because I was one of the first involved with Midas Touch Network. 5.5+ years ago, you didn't have free speech. And if it wasn't for Donald Trump, this network would never exist. And the funny thing is, he actually believes that. He actually believes that we did not have free speech. I need you to sort of help me to find my way back here, because I don't even understand where he's coming from. Where was there a free speech issue, for example, under the Biden administration, or even before?
Yeah.
What am I missing?
You're not missing anything.
Okay.
And in Donald Trump's mind and in the right-wing mind, criticism of what right-wing people would say and do, which public criticism of it, they viewed as a form of censorship against them when they would say very hateful things. And people would be like, well, if you're going to say hateful things, then I'm not going to buy that product, or I'm going to boycott that. If that's truly how you feel about other human beings, then I'm going to exercise my First Amendment right. And I'm going to say, I don't like what you're saying. They're conflating that. And, one of the things that the right wing would say is, cancel culture. And we say one thing wrong and then you cancel us. It's not the government canceling you. It wasn't Biden or Obama saying we're using the tools of the federal government of the United States to shut you down. It would be people saying, if you're going to say racist crap and you're going to say that stuff, then I don't support it. The other area where they would say free speech, being a free speech absolutist, is when they would kind of encourage insurrection, when they would when they would say things like, when they would spread lies about COVID, and that would be very, so one of the things that would happen and just to show you the dynamic here, the Biden administration would not use the government to ever shut down any social media sites. What was uncovered, I want to make a fair argument, right? What was uncovered was that the Biden administration's press team and communications department would sometimes reach out to Twitter or reach out to Facebook or social media and say, hey, you got people over there who are literally spreading Russian propaganda about the 2020 election, who are saying things that are just false about vaccines, and you're going to get people killed and hurt. And so they would say, you have, you're platforming people who are just saying things that are very false about here's the actual policy, and this stuff is spreading. It's just a straight up lie. There was never anything that was produced. Remember this case went, do you remember the case I'm talking about, Cohen? Went to the Fifth Circuit, went all the way up, and everybody was acting like, oh my gosh, the Biden administration, you're clamping down on free speech. And it was like all they were doing was flagging the falsehood. Yeah. What do you think a communications department does? But they never said, we're not going to grant a regulatory approval. We're not going to do this or that at all.
And who did they end up canceling? The one that refused to acknowledge, I forget. They refused to acknowledge. They threw him out of the Oval Office briefing because they refused to acknowledge the Gulf of Mexico as the AP. Gulf of the AP. Yeah, the AP. I mean, do people realize how big the AP actually is as a news organization? In fact, if you're fortunate enough to get your article into AP, 62,000 plus other newspapers use the AP in order to, I don't know, provide articles and so on. It goes to 62 plus thousand different newspapers from as far as Israel all the way to Ronkonkoma. I mean, they are everywhere. They threw them out of the Oval Office. They threw them out of the briefing room because the Associated Press refused to acknowledge the name change, the unilateral name change of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, despite the fact that Google went ahead and Google Maps capitulated. They changed the Gulf of Mexico at Donald Trump's request, which just goes to show you, you cannot allow an inch with this White House and with this administration. The second you grant an inch, they're not even looking to take a foot. They're going for the mile.
I'll show you this. You have Congressmember Eric Swalwell earlier today at a hearing had this to say to the FCC and to anyone else affiliated with the Trump administration who are breaking the law. They don't have absolute immunity. Trump may have been granted absolute immunity by the United States Supreme Court, but the sycophants don't have absolute immunity for what they're doing. Here, play this clip.
So I want to make it clear. There's going to be a Democratic majority in just over a year. And to the FCC chairperson and anyone involved in these dirty deals, get a lawyer and save your records, because you're going to be in this room and you're going to be answering questions about the deals that you struck and who benefited and what the cost was to the American people because that happened. I want to now move.
And this is why the midterms are existential, because, and that's how Trump sees it. That's why Trump wants to rig the midterms the way he's doing, and why he's going to all these states and Republican states and saying, you got to gerrymander, you got to gerrymander, you got to gerrymander, get rid of the Democratic seats. It's why, as a Californian, I'm very proud of Governor Newsom putting Prop 50 on the ballot come November, where the voters can decide if we're going to redistrict here in California, which I hope people vote yes on Prop 50. I want to share this other thing with Congressmember Swalwell from yesterday. Did you see this, Cohen, that Kash Patel hearing yesterday? Did you catch any of that? By the way, I thought the House was far more effective in their questioning than the Senate.
Yeah, me too.
The Senate, I thought, was being there was some good stuff, but it was overall it felt a little more grandstanding and being a little bit too diplomatic. And I found that you had a lot of prosecutors, former prosecutors in the House, so including Congressmember Swalwell. Let's watch this.
I appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political innuendo so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article.
Time,
keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
If the president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding child pedophiles is disgusting. Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco need it.
Director, remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever?
Whoa. I guarantee you that that's a lie. There's no doubt in my mind.
And he's never talked to Trump about the Epstein
files. He's never spoke to Trump about the Epstein files? Seriously? Wow.
What I want to...
Could you imagine what's going to happen when those emails end up coming out? Because especially, look, now that he made that statement on the record, rest assured, they are going to look for any emails, and I believe that they're entitled under FOIA to get them, any communications between Trump and Kash Patel. In fact, I think a really funny question would be if somebody like from Midas Touch would actually happen to get a pass. Have you ever spoken to Kash Patel about the Epstein file? Watch Trump come out and say, absolutely, I have every right to. He works for me. I appointed him. The FBI works for me. I'm the chief executive. By the way, that'd be a fair answer, too.
Now, I'll prove to you right now, and our brigaders, because we always have receipts here, that Kash Patel, in my opinion, was committing perjury there as well. One of the lines he made over and over again was that the federal courts were preventing him from turning over the Epstein files, right? That's what he said. He said, I'm only turning over what we were allowed to turn over. Otherwise, the federal courts have restricted our ability to turn over certain things. Now, you can see what the Trump regime's plan was in trying to take advantage of people's lack of legal knowledge about what's grand jury transcripts versus what's the other material out there, because federal courts will never turn over grand jury transcripts, and grand jury transcripts are not really relevant to what the Epstein files are. The grand jury transcripts would be like 70 pages of an FBI officer who shows up based upon reviewing a file, just spends maybe an hour or two in front of the grand jury and just lays out the case as a prosecutor goes over
so
with
that
them.
They could then bring in indictment. That's all
exactly.
It's about. It's has nothing to do with the people. It has to do with just making enough of a case in order to get the grand jury to turn around and to acknowledge that an indictment should be forthwith.
Right. And there's Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E. It's Hornbook law, meaning everybody knows grand jury testimony does not get released except in the strangest and rarest of circumstances. Now, one of the reasons in the factors that cut against releasing the grand jury transcripts, get this, was because the government, the party seeking the release of the grand jury transcripts, has all the Epstein evidence.
Right.
So the court said, you just turn it over. Why do the grand jury transcripts? You have the files, turn it over. So quite the opposite of what Kash Patel said, Judge Berman, in an order dated August 20th, 2025, says specifically, the government is the logical party to make comprehensive disclosure to the public of the Epstein files. By comparison, the instant grand jury motion appears to be a diversion from the breadth and scope of the Epstein files in the government's possession. The grand jury testimony is merely a hearsay snippet of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged conduct. In February 2025, the government, as noted, was prepared to release their Epstein files to the public. But then on July 6th, the government announced it would not make the files available to the public. The court is saying you turn over the files, to which Kash Patel goes in front of Congress and the American people and lies and says the judge prevented him from doing that. So I ask you, brigaders, I don't care what your political affiliation is, Democrat, Republican, purple state, red state, blue state, independent. I just gave you the facts. And if it doesn't piss you off that the FBI director went in front of Congress and lied to cover up a pedo sex trafficking ring, then I don't know what else. I don't know what else pisses you off, because that shouldn't be a Democrat Republican thing. It should just be a truthful fact thing. That's why I went over it with you just there. Let's take a quick break right now.
Before you go, I have just one quick line. And remember, my friends, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. Go for it, Ben.
Absolutely. As a father of a baby girl, I could assure you, being pissed on.
Always make sure you cover that.
You try to avoid being pissed on. All right. Quick break. When we come back, talk about more. We'll talk about Donald Trump's disastrous trip to the UK. A reminder, subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, subscribe to the Michael Cohen Show YouTube page, subscribe to our YouTube page, subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack, subscribe to the Midas Touch Substack. We'll be right back after our first and only quick break of the show.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Look, I'm so excited to see Saquon Barkley run the ball this weekend. I mean, I'm thinking he could even have more than one rushing TD. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means that you could still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports, so join millions of users and sign up today. So download the app today and use code BEATDOWN to get $50 in lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code BEATDOWN, BEATDOWN, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Political Beatdown. Great ad read there, Michael Cohen. I want to show more from Donald Trump's disastrous visit to the UK. Did you see some of this stuff out of it? You know, I had mixed feelings about it, Cohen, but then I understood what King Charles was actually doing, and it made me less upset about them bringing Donald Trump there. And it's fairly pathetic that this has to take place. But to me, what it was all about, you do the pomp, the circumstance. What does Donald Trump want to be more than anything? Affiliated with the royal family, all of the gold and all of that. And no one has that really in the world like the royal family in the UK. So it's a very odd concept. Usually, like when a world leader, like commander in chief or head of state does these trips, they don't like meet with King Charles and go to the castle and be driven around in the carriage. Like, it's really freaking weird stuff. Like normally you'd have the president meet with the prime minister first and they would just talk about business. But Trump wanted all of that. And what they really wanted to do with Trump there at Windsor Castle was basically say, look, you're here. We're rolling out the red carpet. You can look at the honorary guard outside. We'll fly the planes for you. But we're going to talk to you about Ukraine while you're sitting there and why you need to support Zelensky. And in King Charles' speech, I did a video about it this morning. He emphasized we were together. Like he gave Trump a history lesson. He was like, we were together in World War I. We were together in World War II. And King Charles was actually very circumspect in talking about the Revolutionary War. Could you imagine what our ancestors would think, after America declared its independence? And now we're here together, and we fought in World War I and World War II. And now we have another shared enemy, you freaking idiot. His name is Putin. He didn't say idiot.
I think there's more. Yeah, there's more to than just that. So let me ask you a quick question here. How much do you think that this royal visit from Trump and Melania to Windsor Castle cost the UK? Roundabout
$10 million.
Okay. Let me be very clear. The one thing that they definitively got out of it, bar none, is a reduced tariff. They are not at 15%. They are the lowest. They are at 10%. So if you're going to look at this as a financial play, it's actually a brilliant move. They spent $10 million. They created a whole bunch.
Jeremy says 200 million. Jeremy, is it number two? I haven't heard the number. Is it 200? I want to get the number right. Jeremy says 200 million.
I have a hard time.
Jeremy guessed 200. It wasn't 200 million. It was a lot, but it wasn't 200 million.
Whatever the amount is, it's a lot less than that 5% of the tariffs. Let me put it to you that way. But yes, Ben, you are also 100% correct. He gave Trump, he schooled him on a 5th grade history lesson that the United States and the UK have been partners in every single war, especially every major world war. And right now we are looking at a real serious issue with Putin as they're flying drones over Poland, a NATO ally. As we all know that if, in fact, Putin is successful in taking Ukraine, Poland is next, then the Baltics, and who knows. So, yeah, he gave him a true history lesson, which is interesting because that's what the Brits do. They know their history.
Someone sent me a photo of that fake photo of Trump scarfing down the spaghetti, have you seen this? Have you seen this photo?
I didn't even see it, but he did not.
He did not do that. But the fact that I went to my editorial team, I was like, yo, is this the fact that I even had to ask? Because when he was there though, too, that hand is getting even more gnarly looking. I don't know if you saw, it looks ridiculous. You had Melania wearing a flying saucer over her face. The hat literally covered her face. She looked like she went with a hat that was like that. It looked. The whole thing looked.
He looked good. Stop.
Don't you look? I'm showing you the photo. This is what this is a real photo. Cohen, you can't say she looked good. Maybe in another photo, but that looks ridiculous, right? That's absolutely ridiculous.
It looks like a lamp.
She's a lamp, man. She looks like the Grim Reaper lamp right there. Literally, go back. It's the Grim Reaper, right? It's literally the Grim Reaper.
Right, the Hamburglar.
Look, we got Trump. Do we have the 84% cacao Trump from the interview? Do we have that? We don't have the cacao photo. It's a good joke. Anyway, you could look at him here in this interview that he gave where he talks about, you don't understand what we're doing with drugs. He goes, this was the interview he did with Fox as he's wrapping up this trip. You understand we're going to reduce drug costs over the next year by not 50 or 60%, but by 1,000%. And then Cohen, tell me if you even understand what he's saying here. Which is all that. First off, 1,000%'s a lie. That means we would be getting paid like $1,000 if we bought something for $1, basically. But he goes, because if you think of a $10 pill, the $10 pill is going to be raised from $10 to $20. So isn't that mean it's going to go up and it's going to listen to this, Cohen, and try to decipher it? Let's play it.
Will do.
To agree. You understand. Yeah. And we're going to be reducing drug costs over the next year and a half by not 50 or 60%, by 1,000%. Because if you think a $10 pill so it'll be raised up from 10 to 20 because it's the world versus us. So the world is a bigger place. So it'll go from 10 to 20. It won't go from 10 to 50 or 60 for them, which is bearable. And it'll go from 10 to 20 for us. So you're talking about a monumental change in healthcare. That's going to affect Medicare, Medicaid, even Social Security. It's going to affect everything. That will be one of the biggest things you'll ever see done, because we've been paying for the healthcare of every nation in the world so stupidly.
Yeah. So look, there's an old expression. I love expressions. Numbers don't lie, people do. So if you're paying $10 a pill and it goes to $20 a pill, the cost to you just doubled, right? I mean, it just doubled. I mean, 10 to 20 is a 100% increase, not 1,000%. In fact, if it was 1,000%, as Ben said, that $10 pill, you would pay nothing. Not only would you pay nothing, they would end up giving you $100 for each pill. That's just how math works. And yet, this is the part that bothers me the most. While he's spewing this silliness, he's doing it, of course, on Fox News, because there is no pushback. I can turn around, Ben, and I can tell you that I'm a 5-time UFC heavyweight world champion. That I also, by the way, in the offseason, I'm the center for the New York Knicks. By the way, did I tell you that I won I won the Grand Prix 3 times in a row, the most ever in world history. And I also won NASCAR the last 10 years in a row. In fact, the first time I ever won NASCAR, I was 6. That's how good that I am. And then they sit there and they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. You're amazing. And they shake their head and they just bobble and they don't say a goddamn thing. Wait. Hold on a second. Didn't so-and-so win win NASCAR just like 3 months ago, and isn't the center for the New York Knicks, and yada, yada, and go on and on. But they don't push back. No, God forbid. God forbid. So with Fox News, and this is what we see all the time, every single comment that's being made, much of which has no truth, there's no truth to it at all, doesn't get pushback. And so the folks that are watching it accept it as fact.
As news.
And that's the danger, as news.
And not only is there no pushback, then they amplify this false narrative of, oh, we've brought in $17 trillion. He did that again. We brought in $17 trillion. And then he's asked a question by the Fox host. So would you consider, given that we've brought all this money in, giving it back to the taxpayers while they are waiting for some of your policies to kick in? So are you gonna do like the tariff rebate? Remember, first they did the Doge dividend. Now they're on tariff rebate, and we're supposed to just forget that they promised us $5,000 from Doge, but like
Ben, you didn't get your check?
No, I didn't get my check. I didn't get my Doge. I didn't get my Doge rebate.
Well,
check.
What?
My groceries are getting far more expensive, but I ain't getting no Doge. Rebate check. But just think about, though, and that's why MAGA and Trump in this media environment that we have, other than Midas Touch and independent media that we're trying to be the leaders in, or we are leading in right now, there's no accountability structure. There's no moral clarity. I mean, Trump committed a fraud on the American people. Like, we know it was a fraud. He promised us $5,000 Doge dividend checks, like a big promise, right? It doesn't happen, and it just fades. It just goes away. We move on. Okay. What about ending the war in Ukraine in 24 hours? I was being sarcastic. It was just a joke. Of course, I can't really do that. Then we just move on to, well, Donald Trump is doing security guarantees. And no, he's not. He's doing bilateral, trilateral conversations. But no, he's not. And we just move, and it just fades. It fades. So the accountability structure for a Democrat or for someone on the left or for somebody who's in science, like, oh my gosh, you get anything wrong once, you screw up, God forbid you're Jimmy Kimmel and your opening monologue is like maybe slightly, is it too, I thought what he said was fine. Let me be clear. But you're done. See you later. Oh my God, outrage. Yeah. Sinclair comes in with apologize. Donate money to the Charlie Kirk family.
Yeah, by the way, can we talk about that for a quick second? Because they keep turning around and saying that Jimmy Kimmel must pay Erica.
It's a humiliation ritual. Yeah, Erica
Right.
Kirk.
Erica Kirk must pay her a certain sum as compensation for what he said. So to these idiots that keep spewing this, and I have now heard this and seen this on my social media and with my own ears by people, I'm trying to figure out, do you not understand that the only way that you pay compensation is after a determination by a lawsuit, whether it be a lawsuit for defamation, oral or slander, or some other form of legal action? All of a sudden they're saying, you said this, Ben. Just imagine if this thing actually really happens. Imagine, Ben, every single show, they will turn around and say, Ben, you went ahead, you said X, Y, and Z. You need to pay so-and-so X amount. Michael, you need to pay X amount. John, you need to pay Y amount, ... And it's going to go on forever and ever. They are making this bullshit up every single day. Every single day. And again, there's no pushback. And that, my friends, is the danger to the destruction of the First Amendment.
So who's your two-finger salute? It should be easy. It's probably ABC.
By the way, I'm going to, before I even turn around and say it, I'm just going to ask our brigaders, who do you think deserves? I mean, this is a layup. Who do you think deserves the two-finger salute more than anybody today? All right. And I'm going to give you a quick hint. Yeah, it's a corporation. All right. Sure. ABC, Disney. You fucking feckless bunch of fools. It's not that you did this once. It's now you've done it a second time. And every time that you capitulate, every time you bend the knee, every time that you accept this stupidity, you put the First Amendment behind the eight ball. And nobody could understand why you're doing it. You're doing it for your shareholders. You're doing it for what? For your ability within which to show quarterly profits? How about stand up for the journalists? Stand up for the First Amendment. Stand up for what you're supposed to be, which is a news organization. And literally, since you refused to do it, not once, like when you paid out $16 million, you opened up the Pandora's box for these fraudulent lawsuits. You are the reason that our First Amendment right now is in greater trouble than it was even before. And for that, yeah, shame on you, ABC, and fuck you.
You know, here's the thing, too, as these companies have exalted the oligarchy over America. Like, we used to be held together through values and principles so that we can draw these lines and create boundaries against people who encroach on these very American values. There's a reason that the First Amendment goes first, right? I mean, the idea of...
Because without the First Amendment, none of the other amendments can exist.
Exactly. And if you're a corporation and your bottom line matters more than First Amendment free speech, you're not really an American corporation. I mean, you are this extra territorial, oligarchical thing that is purely there as a money, not even money making, money sucking kind of machine for a finite period of time while the Ponzi scheme continues. And even if you're the corporation, if you have children or grandchildren, you're screwing them. I mean, maybe this Ponzi scheme-like economy where the stock market performs incongruously with all the economic data out there, and maybe it lasts another 3 months, Cohen. Maybe it goes another 6 months. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's not reflecting the issues that the 99% of Americans are feeling out there. And at some point, there is a harmonization between those two things. Yep. And what that means is there's going to be problems. and big problems where the companies are going to be hurting themselves as we continue down this path.
They're
So
so
there was one.
myopic. They're not looking literally past their nose. Ultimately, you're so right, Ben. ABC continues on this path. CBS continued on this path, and you start to see others like law firms continue onto it. This will be every single corporation, every single entity that says anything that this administration finds demeaning to them, and they will go after every single person. It's
Right, because then what does a
I'm gonna
Brendan
say
Carr
this
do?
one more time. I want to say one more thing about Midas Touch Network one more time. My friends, I want to be crystal clear about it. If you watch ABC, you're a fool. If you watch CNN, you're a fool. I don't care who you're watching. If you're watching MSNBC, yeah, you're also foolish. And why? Because half the time it's this back and forth bickering bullshit, not predicated on facts. But again, they need to bring in people that this administration deems to be surrogates. Okay? And I know because I was one of them once. And they need to bring them in. Otherwise, they fear that they're going to have some sort of FCC violation. They're going to get shut down, or they'll have no access to the White House, whatever it might be, for their profit making. You don't see that on Midas Touch Network. And why? Because they don't have sponsors. They are not controlled. I am not controlled, whether it's here on Midas Touch Network with Ben, my co-host here, right? Whether it's going to be on my own show, Mea Culpa Podcast, YouTube channel, it doesn't make a difference. Wherever we don't have sponsors, we have you. And that's why I am going to say it for the 100th time. All right. You know, there's an old expression again. A word to the once to the wise should be sufficient. We need your help to grow this network to be so big that it cannot be stifled and shut down. Because what do you think is going to happen? He is guaranteed, because Midas is number one right now out there, and Midas is critical of this administration. They will, as Ben writes about all the time in his morning Substack letter, that they are coming after Midas Touch Network. So do you not want to protect the one place where you could rest assured it's predicated on fact? Or you want to go sit there and watch CNN as they sit there and they listen to Scott Jennings bullshit, or you listen to Fox News, or you listen to MSNBC, wherever the hell you go, it is skewed to the point you can't make out whether someone's telling the truth anymore or they're lying right to your face, plain and simple. So help Midas Touch, help me, help all of us to grow our community so big that 2026 goes the way we need it to go, that we continue to be able to get you truth based upon fact.
I want to leave everybody with a personal story, because a lot of our ability to build this network and to build shows like this comes from personal experiences before we somehow found ourselves creating, me and my brothers, this media network. And my background was I was a lawyer. At first I was a litigator, and then towards the end of my kind of career as a real lawyer, I did transactions. I did deals. I was a deal maker. And one of my clients that you all may know about, if you read about me, was Colin Kaepernick. And if you've followed his career or my career before Midas Touch, one of the big deals that I did with Colin was at Disney ABC, and we did an ESPN, and we did a big overall deal. One of the documentaries we produced was a show on Hulu called Killing County, and it was about the work that I did in Bakersfield and Kern County, which had the highest police shooting death per capita during the kind of 2015 to 2019 period. And we followed the families that I represented, and it was on Hulu, but that was through the overall deal that we did with Disney ABC. And I just remember after the 2020 election, or right around the 2020 election, or leading to the 2020 election, I dealt with all of the executives there. And, you know, they approached us about how in this historical moment that they valued civil rights and they valued free speech, and that Colin was a hero. And it was very persuasive to me and ultimately doing a deal with them that they said those things. And I was in meetings, with top executives who conveyed those heartfelt sentiments about how much they appreciated Kaepernick's role in history. And we met with a lot of companies, and they all said very nice things along those lines. But ultimately, we went with them because they made this heartfelt pitch. And what's shocking to me in a way, as having literally been in the room where it happens, most of those people are still there today. It's not like some are gone, but it's a lot of those same people who were looking me in the eye and told me how with it they were for Colin, how with it they were for civil rights, how with it they were for standing up against everything, who then all of a sudden are doing this. And that shows me that they really weren't with it. Right? Like it shows me that
it's all about the Benjamins, my brother.
It showed me that at that time,
Benjamin Meiselas, the Benjamins.
Right. At that time, they viewed that, not that they were with the movement of civil rights, but that was better for their bottom line to be there. And then the wind shift, and now not them, but now Amazon, instead of making the Kaepernick docs, they do the Melania documentaries. And then when the wind shift back, they're going to be calling, right? They're going to, or they're, if the wind shift back, but we're going to make sure. So then how do we process that? How do we process, because this isn't a minor betrayal. This is to me, a wholesale betrayal of our values as a country, about whether we're a democracy or whether we're a Putin-style authoritarian regime. And then they want to be cool with it. Like, we're cool now, huh? We're cool. I don't know. I don't think we're cool. I don't think so.
Ben, they're nothing more than two-faced, feckless fuckers, plain and simple.
Well, I wanted to share that personal story because, many people may not know that background to me, but I find in this current moment, especially with ABC Disney, that being particularly relevant. All right, everybody, make sure you subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel, The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to his Substack, Michael Cohen Substack. Subscribe to his audio podcast, the Mea Culpa audio podcast. Subscribe to our podcast while you're at it, the Midas Touch podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're at it, the Midas Touch YouTube channel while you're at it. Appreciate all of your support as always. Make sure you watch the show with me and my brothers tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. Shout out Brigaders. Shout out Midas Mighty.
Boom.